What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode. Before we go on, I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic, and the player ratings and potentials of the players may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. Obviously, you don't have to follow all the tips. This is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those you out there who may be new to the game and just need a little bit of advice, or for those right there who want a few recommendations on what players to sign for a team that you may be using in career mode this year. And I'm really excited to use this team for today's episode, and there are many reasons why. It is Torino of the Serie A, playing in the absolutely fabulous city of Turin in Italy, under charge of Juric, the Croatian, who last season finished in 10th place in the Serie A. Now this is a really fun RTG team, and if you've been on my channel for a while, you'll know we used them back in FIFA 15 as well. FIFA 14? FIFA 15. One of the two. It's been so many years, I can't remember. But even so, great team to use. They're a 4-star side. They have a low starting budget of around 18 to 19 million pounds. But one of the reasons they're a great team to use, well, there are many reasons, but one of the main reasons is because in the first season, the objectives are very simple. Finish mid-table, reach the last 16 in the cup. Easy as you like. Yep, really simple objectives there. Go one round further in the cup than the one you're drawn into, you'll hit the cup objective. Finish in mid-table, well in real life, finish in the top 10. It's definitely doable. Whilst they are a 4-star team, and it does need improvement as well, there's no doubt about that, it's a really fun long-term project. Torino are not the club you come into and in 1 or 2 seasons you've won everything and you call it a day. This is a 4, 5, 6 season project, and it's a really fun team to use as well. Now it's also a really interesting team. Playing in Turin, you of course got your strong rivalry with Juventus, which is really cool. The battles with the old lady are always going to be fantastic. They've got some lovely kits. I absolutely love their alternate kit, but my goodness gracious me, this is Loan FC. They've got 9 players, I believe, 9 players loaned in at the club. Yeah, let's just say Torino don't like paying transfer fees. They'd much rather just get players on loan for a year and just pay their wages. Now, there's a couple of players who deals to come at the end of the year. I'd only give one contract out though. That's to Andrea Bellotti. It's not too long ago when Bellotti was a younger striker than he is right now, but he's still in his mid to late 20s, so he's not too old. But it's not too long ago when Bellotti was one of the hottest prospects in European football. Many people believing surely at some point he'd leave Torino, go to a major European club, if you will. Never happened. Stayed in Turin, fair play, respect it, great goal to game ratio at Torino, and he should be a starting striker as well at 80 overall. With Torino again, not much money to work with, so many players loaned in. It's a fascinating team to use for a long-term rebuild and RTG as well. Very few players going to be with you throughout all the years you'll be in Turin, and one player I would recommend signing is this guy, and I think it is the position you need to improve on as well. Now Torino got Berisha in for this season, but you can't swap him out the club if you can't sell him. You need a better goalkeeper. In the Serie A, 73 rated is not that high. Berisha's in his 30s. You want someone better. Whilst Milinkovic-Savic is a young goalkeeper at 24, I think it is. You need someone better now. Alex Meret is my top choice for the new number 1 here in Turin. You can get him for around 17, 18 million pounds. We swapped Berisha as part of the deal as well, but this is a 24-year-old goalkeeper at Napoli, and he's a perfect fit for Torino. He's 5 ratings higher than Berisha and Milinkovic-Savic, but he's only 24 years old as well, so he's got a long way to go before he hits his prime, and he's got 81 potential, yet he starts off 78 overall with dynamic potential. Absolutely no reason why this guy can't get into the mid-80s. He's the perfect long-term number 1 here in Torino, and of course, with him being Italian, it's a nice fit as well. So of course, we gave Napoli Berisha. That meant Milinkovic-Savic would go on the bench, but I'd still recommend selling Milinkovic-Savic. Now, I know it's an interesting one because at 24 years old, he's young. For a goalkeeper, he's very young, but at 73 rated, he does grow 5 ratings, 78 overall. That's fine. As a backup goalkeeper, that's more than good enough. However, I would look for a younger goalkeeper with more potential if I were you, or if not, then the same potential. Really, at £5 million, I'd take the cash, personally speaking. 73 rated, 24 years old. Again, you can get someone younger. You can get someone just as good. And if not, someone with similar potential, which means you'll be paying lower wages per week, and you'll probably make a saving in your transfer budget as well. You'll also notice we sold Zaza to Aston Villa. We accepted a bid for Saudi as well from Lille after selling Milinkovic-Savic to KRC Genk. And also Brighton wanted Ricardo Rodriguez as well. As you'll notice here, doing this deal with Graham Potter. I think we agreed £3.75 million. Is that right? No? Okay, fair enough, we didn't. But even so, yeah, I would sell Rodriguez too. Now, of course, this guy, again, back in the day, talking about Belotti, this guy also was another really hot prospect back in the day. I remember back in, I think it was Euro 2012, a lot of talk. He was a Swiss left-back at the time, playing for Wolfsburg. Many people thinking he's going to take the world by storm. Well, right now at Torino, he's been converted into a centre-half. Personally, I would sell in the first season. I wouldn't keep him, I would sell. He's only 74 rated. You can get much better than that in a centre-half role. I would sell. We've got a bit of money from Brighton there, and I'd selling in Saudi. I'll go after a new centre-half for this Torino team. You'll see the team. It's a pretty decent side. You know, going forward, there's some good talent up top. You know, you've got likes of Piaka, of course, Belotti leading your line. But at the back, that's where you're most fragile. Your goalkeepers, your starting goalkeepers aren't the best. That's why I recommend bringing in Meret. And I also think with the back three as well, you've got Bremer, who is an amazing young Brazilian talent who, of course, will be your starting centre-half, but you're going to want someone else to partner him because the other centre-half choices here with Torino aren't what you consider the best, and not many of them are young with good potential as well. Luis Felipe is the player I'd recommend to bring in though. His deal's up coming the end of the year with Lazio, which means you can get him for under the valuation of £20.5 million. As you'll see, we agreed. I think it was a £17 million deal with Lazio, plus a 10% sell-on clause as well. But that's an absolute bargain. Luis Felipe starts off 79 overall. He's 24 years old. He's got 84 potential, so grows 5 ratings, and with dynamic potential, he can definitely get into the mid to high 80s as well. Really solid player, Brazilian born, Italian national now. He's a great young talent to bring in, and again, because his deals are coming the end of the year, you can get him on an absolute bargain buy. 17 million for this guy is a steal. He'll be worth a lot more than that in just 2 or 3 years. And going to the back line as well, again, you've got some okay centre-halves here, like Izzo, for example, and Rodriguez is alright, but you want someone better, and again, you want someone younger as well. You've got a young Croatian in the team, which is pretty decent, but you want someone who can step in right now and be a solid centre-half alongside Bremer, because Bremer at 80 overall, he's always going to be starting in this team. Zima's a good option for the future, but you want someone better now. It's like the goalkeeper position, you know, we talked about earlier. Obviously, they've got a young goalkeeper, Milinkovic-Savic, but in the Serie A, 73 rated, it's not great. Let's be honest here, in the top tier of Italian football, you want someone better right now and can still get better as well. So for the final signing we made with Torino, I would recommend a new left-sided player. Now, of course, Torino playing a three-at-the-back system. You want to make sure that your wing-back/wide midfielders are good both on the defensive end and also on the offensive end as well, because they'll have no cover behind them. They need to have a lot of energy as well. I really recommend this guy with Torino, Anthony Cacci of Strasbourg. He's a 75 rated 24-year-old French wingback. When you look at his stats here, he's also 6'1". I do believe, we were talking about young centre-halves here, he could definitely be converted into play centre-back in this team and do really well as a left-sided player in the back three. Centre-half is actually his third listed position as well. He might not be the strongest, might have the biggest jump on him either, but again, 5-star weak foot and a really decent passer of the ball as well for a defence-minded player, but I would play him in his more natural left-sided role and keep him in this Torino team on the flank. Again, when you play a three-at-the-back system, ordinarily you won't have a player further forward or behind you when you are the wide midfielder or the wing-backs. You want to make sure you've got a lot of energy and are good both on the defensive end and can offer something going forward as well. Cacci can definitely do that. So I'd have him playing left wing-back and also Singo on the right side. He's a young player with decent potential. So once the season ticket money came in, I did decide to try and make one more signing, and I mentioned earlier after we sold Milinkovic-Savic, I would recommend selling both goalkeepers and obviously getting rid of Berisha if you can't sell him and bringing in 2 new ones as well. A good starter goalkeeper and also a youngster with really good talent for the future as well. I always recommend this guy, Martin van der Voort of KRC Genk. He's joining RB Leipzig in 2024, but in the game you can get him on in the first season for your team and normally for around close to the valuation. Unfortunately, this was the one save I did or I couldn't. Practically every single save I do, Van der Voort's available for around his valuation, around 3.4, 3.5 mil. In this save, Unfortunately not. Yeah, couldn't afford to get Van der Voort. He would be my main target though. If you can afford Van der Voort, definitely bring him as your backup goalkeeper. He's got 84 potential. Whilst he starts off 71 overall and a couple of ratings lower than Milinkovic-Savic, he's a few years younger and has far higher potential as well. We couldn't get him, so in the end I went with my second choice option, Alessandro Plazzari of Lecce. This is a good young talent. I think he's actually on loan from AC Milan. Now correct me if I'm wrong, Serie A fans, but I think he's on loan from Milan, but in the game he's listed as a permanent Lecce player, and he's 66 overall, 21 years old, so yes, quite a few ratings lower than Milinkovic-Savic, but Merit's going to be starting goalkeeper in the first few years, no doubt about that. This guy is literally just here to be a backup, be a bench warmer, and be some cover. 66 rated, too low to be a starter, but Merit's going to do that job for you. He's there for the future, he's got 78 potential, with dynamic potential, could sneak up to 80, and as a young Italian on the bench, yeah, he's not a bad stand-in for Merit if need be. So with Torino, in the end, as you can see, we sold those deadwood players and players with not much quality. Rodriguez and Saudi, Gigi and Zaza all leaving, plus the young goalkeeper Milinkovic-Savic, but the players coming in here much better and much younger. Luis Felipe, Merit and Chachi, all 24 years old, and of course a 21-year-old Plazzari coming in as well. Yeah, much younger team, much brighter prospects for the future, and definitely a much more exciting Torino team. Now, as per usual, this is interesting. We would simulate to the end of the season with Torino. You'll notice I played the very first game, or I simulated over, I should say, because it came before the first week of the new season, so I get the season ticket sales. So we already knew we'd failed our cup objective. We got knocked out by Juve in the first round. But as we simulate to the end of the season, see if we get the league objective of finishing mid-table, as you can see, coming towards the end of the season, very generous objective, very easily doable in the first season. And we did it. We finished in 9th place in the end, one player higher than Torino finished in real life. So a top 10 finish for Torino, just like in real life, into a crowned champions this year of the Serie A. And 9th place is a really solid finish in the first season. You could drop as low as 13th or 14th and the board would still consider that a successful first year. But top 10, if you can do that like Torino did in the first season this year in real life, that's more than good enough for the board. So whilst you technically failed a cup objective, the league objective was hit, and that's a solid first year. You will notice though, and this is the really interesting thing, as I'll show you the Coppa Italia run here. Like I mentioned, we simulated over the first game before the first game of the Serie A season. You still got knocked out by Juve in a derby there, so no shame in getting beaten by Juventus, of course, but it was, of course, still considered a failure to cup. You'll notice something very interesting here. So, cup objective failed, league objective hit. Do you remember the start of the season I talked about Torino being loan FC, and they've got about 8 or 9 players that are currently on loan? We also lost a player during the January window, Linity, to Borussia Mönchengladbach. So that made our squad thinner. But also as well, you'll notice here, the vast majority of those players that are on loan, frankly not all of them, Mandragora was still here, Dennis Prayet was still here as well, but the vast majority of them decided to return to their parent clubs. So, in the end, we lost a lot of our players as those loan players had their deals terminated midway through the season. And that's what made the 9th place finish even more respectable to me. Our squad went down to a thin 22 players, and yet we still managed a 9th place finish in the Serie A in a 38-game season. That, to me, made it really, really impressive. But I thought it was so funny. I came back, and it's like that Will Smith meme in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You know, that final closing scene of the series where he's just standing in the living room and there's no one there. I can imagine that was like me coming back. Where's all my players gone? They're going back to their parent clubs. But again, Mandragora and Prayet stayed, as did Brecalo as well. But for the most part, the majority left. But it's a great team, Torino, though. I've got a lot of affection for this team because I did a career with them many, many years ago. They're a 4-star team. It's a long-term RTG. Not much money to work with, but a really good challenge. Lovely alternate kit, by the way, in the fabulous city of Turin with a strong rivalry with Juve. I couldn't recommend them more. Great long-term RTG rebuild project. Really fun team to use. But that will end today's episode of Who to Sign For, guys. Big thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you haven't, drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode of Who to Sign For very soon.